Today we're diving into really quite an audacious idea, one that challenges the very foundation of how we all use the internet.
Right.
We're talking about that digital landscape we navigate every day.
Yeah.
The one largely shaped by just a handful of, well, centralized giants. And as you probably know, that whole structure often brings with it real concerns about privacy, potential censorship, and also scaling limitations, especially when you think about truly next-generation applications. But what if the internet itself could be rebuilt, like from the ground up, to be fundamentally open and decentralized?
Yeah, it's the big question, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's the core promise of the project we're looking at today, the Internet Computer Protocol, or ICP. It's a bold challenger, really aiming to revolutionize the web as we know it.
Precisely. And in this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack how ICP proposes this truly decentralized alternative. It's powered by a global network of independent data centers, not, the usual corporate server farms.
Yeah.
We'll explore its ambitious technology, the crucial role of its native token in making it all work, and also the fascinating, sometimes, wildly conflicting predictions about where it's headed.
So, by the end of this deep dive, you should have a really clear understanding of what makes ICP tick, where it stands on its roadmap right now, and what its potential future might hold, all based on the sources you provided. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, so to really get ICP's vision, we first need to look at the problems it's trying to solve, right? The challenges with the current internet. Our sources paint a pretty clear picture here.
They do.
Think about how much of our digital lives, cloud computing, social media, it all operates under the control of just a few big companies.
Centralized control.
Yeah, and this isn't just abstract stuff. It leads to tangible concerns like privacy breaches, censorship worries, and honestly, a real bottleneck for scaling truly innovative Web3 apps.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how ICP aims to tackle these head-on. The proposal is to transform the entire public internet into this seamless global computing platform. The whole internet.
Well, yeah. That's the idea, allowing developers to build basically anything, DeFi apps, tokenized social media, you name it, directly on the public internet.
So completely bypassing traditional cloud services like AWS or Google Cloud.
Exactly. No need for those commercial clouds or individual server computers, according to the vision.
That's a huge claim. I mean, one source we looked at even called it the third greatest crypto innovation after Bitcoin and Ethereum.
High praise indeed.
And Dominic Williams, the founder of DFINITY, that's the organization behind ICP, he actually stated the platform could help curb the dominance of big tech, create an open and free Web 3.0.
Right. Which, of course, leads to the big question, how? How does it actually plan to do this?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
Well, it relies on this decentralized protocol, also called ICP, run by this network of independent data centers all over the world.
Okay.
And a key piece of tech mentioned is something called chain key technology.
Chain key? What's that?
It's described as this unique engine. It's actually a set of cryptographic protocols that orchestrate all the nodes in the network. This allows the whole system to have a single public key, which is pretty unique, and process transactions incredibly fast. We're talking 1 to 2 seconds.
1 to 2 seconds for finality. Wow.
Yeah.
And the ambition isn't just tech, it's physical scale too, right?
Yeah.
Our sources show that when it launched back in May 2021, it had 48 data centers running 1,300 nodes.
Which was already significant.
But the plan was exponential growth. Aiming for thousands of data centers, millions of nodes, all to create this new open internet within 10 years.
That's a seriously bold vision for decentralization on a global scale.
Absolutely. So, okay, for a vision that grand, you obviously need a powerful engine to fuel it, and that's where the ICP token comes in.
Right.
The sources really emphasize how critical the tokenomics, the economic design is for a network like the internet computer.
Couldn't agree more. The ICP token is, it's designed to be the lifeblood of the whole ecosystem, not just, another speculative coin.
Okay, so what does that lifeblood look like structurally?
All right, so total supply is capped at 516.2 million tokens. Currently, about 461 million are in circulation.
And market cap.
At a market price of, say, $12, that puts the market cap around $5.2 billion. Interestingly, its market cap to fully diluted valuation ratio is 0.89.
0.89. What does that suggest?
Well, it suggests it's getting closer to its full potential valuation, at least based on the total supply. It's not wildly far off.
Now, here's something really interesting, maybe even a bit controversial, from the early days. The initial distribution back in 2017, it raised some eyebrows.
Ah, yes, the distribution.
Yeah. Roughly half the supply went to seed investors, early contributors, strategic partners, pre-sales. Another big chunk, 48.5%, was held by the DFINITY Foundation, the team advisors.
Leaving. Not much for the wider community initially.
Right, only about 1.5% for node operators' airdrops to the general community. Now, our source does note that nearly 4 years have passed since launch, so market activity has likely decentralized things somewhat.
True, time helps.
But it still raises that question, doesn't it? How does a project starting so centralized build trust as this, foundation of a decentralized internet? Are there specific mechanisms beyond just market trading?
That's a really critical point, and the answer lies partly in the incentive structure. This dynamic interplay is key.
Okay.
So on the inflationary side, you have governance participants, people who lock up their ICP tokens, creating what are called neurons. They earn newly minted ICP as rewards for voting.
So incentivizing governance.
Exactly. And similarly, the node providers, the folks actually running the hardware, the backbone of the network, they also get rewards in newly minted ICP.
Okay, so new tokens are being created, but that sounds like inflation. How do they balance that out? Is there something pulling tokens out of circulation?
Yes, absolutely. There's a vital counterbalance, a deflationary mechanism.
How does that work?
Whenever users actually use the network, say, to host an application or store data, they convert ICP tokens into something called cycles.
Cycles, like gas fees.
Pretty much, yeah. Cycles act as the network's gas. And importantly, this conversion process burns the ICP tokens, takes them permanently out of circulation.
Okay. So there's minting for rewards and burning through usage. That balance is key.
Essential for long-term sustainability, yes.
Got it. So beyond those supply mechanics, how else is the token used? What are its core jobs?
Well, several key things. First, as we mentioned, staking ICP to create those neurons. That gives you voting rights to shape the network's future, and you earn rewards for participating.
Right. Governance.
Second, node providers get rewarded for contributing their compute resources, keeping the network running smoothly.
Makes sense.
Third, converting ICP into cycles to actually fuel applications, pay for data storage, all the essential network resources.
Okay, the actual utility.
And finally, it also acts as a sort of gateway. You can use ICP to invest in DAOs or other projects being built directly on the internet computer ecosystem itself.
So it fuels the network and lets you participate within it. Okay. Now, knowing what the token does, let's talk roadmap. Progress. This isn't just a static idea, right? The DFINITY Foundation has a detailed plan, 9 key themes, I think.
That's right. It's constantly evolving. These are tangible developments, not just theory.
So what are some highlights? What's exciting on that roadmap?
Well, one major theme that really stands out is decentralized AI.
Decentralized AI. What does that mean in this context?
The vision is pretty wild, actually. They talk about a self-writing internet.
A self-writing internet.
Yeah, where AI models can actually write and deploy applications as ICP smart contracts, canisters, as they call them, accessible via just a URL.
Wow.
And a big part of this is trust, providing transparency into how the AI models run on the blockchain so you don't have to blindly trust some centralized server running the AI.
That addresses a huge concern with AI right now. Any timelines on that?
They mentioned a Caffeine Alpha launch is due on July 15th, 2025, so quite soon, relatively speaking.
Okay, Caffeine Alpha. We'll watch for that. What else? Any other big themes?
Another huge area is chain fusion.
Chain fusion. Sounds like connecting blockchains.
Exactly. The tech aims to seamlessly integrate ICP with other major blockchains. Think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana.
How does that work? Does it use bridges?
That's the key. The goal is without bridges. It allows ICP's smart contracts, or canisters, to directly orchestrate and interact with smart contracts on other chains. It kind of enhances those other chains with ICP's compute and storage capabilities.
So ICP contracts controlling assets on Bitcoin or Ethereum directly.
That's the idea, and they've made progress. Sources say Chain Fusion now supports EVM chains, that's Ethereum-compatible chains, since May 2024.
Okay.
It supports Bitcoin ordinals and runes since August 2024.
So interacting with Bitcoin NFTs and tokens.
Right. And even Solana integration happened as of June 2025. There's even Dogecoin integration planned for September 2025.
Dogecoin, too. Wow. Okay, the implications of controlling Bitcoin balances directly from a smart contract, that's kind of mind-blowing. Dominic Williams thought this could help realize Satoshi's vision, right?
That's what he said, yeah. A big claim, but the tech points in that direction.
And this isn't just roadmap talk. There's actual network growth happening.
Oh, yeah. The progress is measurable. The blockchain passed 1 billion blocks back in July 2022.
A billion blocks.
And by August 2022, it had over 100,000 canisters, those smart contracts running. Well on its way to 150,000 then.
And real projects are building on it.
Definitely. We saw that DSCVR, a Web3 social network running entirely on ICP, raised $9 million in a seed round recently. That shows real-world adoption and investor interest.
Okay, so the vision is huge, the tech is advancing, the network is growing. Now let's get to the part many listeners are probably waiting for, the price. The ICP token price.
Yes, the crystal ball section.
Exactly. And you've provided a real mix of predictions. What's clear, as always, is the crypto market is, well, famously volatile.
Understatement of the year sometimes. But this wide range of outlooks does raise an important question. How do you even begin to make sense of it all?
Good question. Where should we start? Maybe some history.
Yeah, a bit of history grounds us. So, ICP launched, big fanfare, May 2021. Hit an all-time high around $750.
$750 right at launch.
But then, a dramatic fall. It hit a low of $2.83 by fall 2023.
Wow, from $750 down to under $3. That's a staggering drop.
Yeah.
99.62% decrease, the source said.
Brutal. But then things started to shift.
Yeah, to turn around.
Seems like it. Since September 2023, ICP showed real resilience. It saw a 439% increase, which did align with the broader crypto market rally.
Okay.
And notably, back in December, there was a 66% surge over just 2 days. That followed DFINITY announcing a European subnet that could support GDPR-compliant applications.
So a direct link between a real-world utility announcement and price action. Interesting.
Shows the market can react to fundamental developments.
Okay, so that's the recent past. What about looking ahead? Say 2025. The sources had a lot to say there.
They certainly did. A wide range, as you said. Mereblock's technical analysis, for instance, speculated it might retest $9, then climb towards $20, maybe even $42.
Okay, that's one view. What else?
Investing Haven, looking at July 1st, suggested a range for 2025 between $4.40 and $20.21. Their first bullish target was $21.50, especially if ICP makes a strong play in the real-world asset or RWA space.
RWA is definitely a hot narrative. What about CoinCodex? They often have algorithmic predictions.
Right. As of July 6th, 2025, CoinCodex had ICP around $4.82. Their short-term prediction was a rise to maybe $5.24 by early August.
So lower than the others, short term at least.
Yes, and their overall sentiment based on technical indicators was actually bearish, which is interesting because the broader market fear and greed index was showing greed at 67.
Conflicting signals.
Exactly, but CoinCodex did project a potential 52% ROI by December 2025, putting the price around $7.33, still relatively conservative compared to some.
And then there was Godex.io. Their numbers seemed quite a bit higher for 2025.
Yeah, Godex was more optimistic. Conservative estimates between roughly $19.50 and $35.60. Optimistic scenarios hitting nearly $35.
What was driving their optimism?
They pointed to things like the Bitcoin halving's ripple effects and general expert predictions of BTC possibly soaring towards $150,000, which could lift the whole market, including ICP.
So connecting it back, a lot of these predictions, especially the bullish ones, seem to hinge on institutional adoption picking up and ICP continuing to hit those tech milestones like more subnets, that Ethereum integration.
Absolutely. Those seem to be the critical drivers everyone's watching. Fundamentals matter.
But what about the actual community, the people holding the token? We looked at that Reddit discussion, talk about mixed feelings.
Oh, yeah, a real spectrum of opinion there. Some users were talking $25, $35 by end of 2025.
What was their reasoning?
They cited potentially reduced sell pressure. Apparently, some early investor tokens unlock around June 2025, and after that, maybe less selling.
Okay, interesting theory. But others were way less hopeful.
Right. Definitely. Some said they couldn't see it getting above $10 or maybe $15, like ever again. Some were blaming ICP's marketing or the initial rough launch.
But then you had the Super Bowls on the other end.
Right. Predictions for 2025 as high as $150 or maybe $50 if the integrations like Chain Fusion go really smoothly, just all over the map.
It really highlights the speculative nature, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that Capital.com analyst, Mikhail Karkalev, made a good point. Ambitious goals and big investments don't automatically guarantee success. We've seen plenty of Ethereum killers struggle.
So the key is watching the roadmap, execution.
Exactly. Watch the milestones, see if they deliver. That's likely the differentiator.
Okay, so that's the near to midterm. What about way out? 2030, 2040, 2050. The predictions get even wilder there.
They really do. Invest in Haven suggested ICP could hit, $88.88 by 2030? Maybe $100 before then. and potentially $500 by 2040.
$500. And Godex.io, they seemed even more optimistic long-term.
Extremely optimistic. They suggested an average near $80 by 2030. Then by 2040, potentially $900 to $1,400.
Whoa. Driven by what?
They linked it to future tech, like truly autonomous AI running on-chain, maybe quantum computing integration. Really futuristic stuff.
And 2050.
Their numbers went even higher, $2,000 to $5,000, with a potential high over $15,000 by 2050.
$15,000 if what happens?
If ICP basically becomes the foundational layer of a fully decentralized internet integrated with VR, brain-computer interfaces, full sci-fi territory.
Okay, that's quite the vision. But then you have Coin Codex again, the algorithm, bringing things back down to earth.
Right. Their algorithm estimated ICP will not reach $1,000. Its highest expected price by 2050 was only around $33.22.
$33 versus $15,000. That's a massive difference.
It really is, and it raises that crucial question. How do you weigh these incredibly ambitious, almost utopian visions against current market realities and these grounded algorithm-based forecasts? What makes ICP potentially different from projects that aimed high and fell short? That's the billion-dollar or maybe trillion-dollar question.
So summing up this deep dive, we've really dug into the Internet Computer Protocol and the ICP token. We've seen this project with just a monumental vision.
Truly transformative.
Yeah, changing the internet from this centralized playground into an open, secure, genuinely decentralized global computer.
And we saw how the ICP token is designed really intricately to power that whole vision, from incentivizing governance and nodes to actually fueling the applications, acting as that gateway to the whole Web3 ecosystem built on top.
Right. And the roadmap shows these really ambitious tech advancements, especially things like that AI integration, the self-writing internet, and chain fusion aiming to link ICP seamlessly with Bitcoin, Solana, and others.
The tech goals are definitely impressive.
But what really stands out looking across everything is just the incredible range of predictions for ICP's future. You've got analysts pointing to bullish technicals, a path towards real value. Then you have the community, with opinions from, never above $15 to $150 next year. And these long-term forecasts that swing from maybe $30 to over $15,000.
Yeah.
It's clearly a journey to watch.
It really is. And maybe this raises a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. If, and it's still a big if, but if the internet computer can truly deliver on promises like a self-writing internet and a seamless interoperability across all blockchains, how might that fundamentally change how we interact with digital services, how we trust AI, regardless of what the token price ultimately does? It's a really compelling thought, isn't it, for a future that is, still very much unwritten.